Links in the description. If you do like this video, if you like the topic, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. Have a quick look at a couple of the other videos that I have on my channel, see if this is the right kind of channel for you. I typically read through articles on the same day that they're published, perhaps the day after, and they're typically fairly dark in topic, in nature, discussing crime in the main, murders, torture. Not very nice subjects, I'm afraid, and in this case this is more of a tragedy. There's seemingly no crime, or potentially no crime, in this situation, but it is absolutely tragic. And this article has been published 2 hours ago. It's in regards to an incident which occurred today in Australia, just a few hours ago really, and it involves the death of 4 children. And regrettably, that number of deaths may increase. Other children have been seriously hurt in a freak accident which happened in Tasmania, Australia. So I'm going to read through the full article. It may take some time, but again, there's a link in the description should you prefer to refer that to yourself. Bouncy Castle horror leaves 4 children dead and 4 more fighting for life after a freak gust of wind throws an inflatable 30-foot, an inflatable bouncy castle, 30 foot in the air during an end-of-term celebration at an Australian primary school. 4 children have been killed and another 4 are fighting for life after a bouncy castle was blown 30 foot in the air by a freak gust of wind during an end-of-year celebration at a primary school in Australia. The tragedy unfolded at Hillcrest Primary on the island of Tasmania around 10 a.m. on Thursday, as pupils gathered on the sports field to celebrate their last day of term before breaking up for the Christmas holidays. Police say that a freak wind event lifted up the bouncy castle and several inflatable zorb balls, dragging children into the air, who then fell back to the ground across the sports field and a nearby slope. The 4 who died, 2 boys and 2 girls, were Year 5 and Year 6 pupils and are thought to be aged between 10 and 12 years old. 4 others of the same age are now in hospital in critical condition, with a 5th seriously hurt. It is understood to be only the 2nd year that Hillcrest has hosted such an event. Usually the end of term is marked with a large picnic, but that had to be changed last year due to COVID. Instead of celebrating together as one group, the pupils were split into cohorts which rotated through a range of activities. The concept was so popular that Hillcrest decided to repeat it this year. Aside from the bouncy castle and zorbs, which are inflatable balls that people can climb inside of, there was also a wet play zone with sprinklers and an arts and crafts area. The event had been underway for just half an hour when the tragedy struck. Officers have so far refused to give any details of how the accident unfolded, including whether the bouncy castle was properly anchored to the ground. An investigation has been launched and a coroner has also visited the site. Here's a quote from the Tasmanian Police Commissioner. "On a day when these children were meant to be celebrating their last day of primary school, instead we're all mourning their loss. Our hearts are breaking for the families and the loved ones, schoolmates, teachers of these young people who were taken too soon. Detectives are investigating how many children were on the jumping castle when the tragedy unfolded." It's an emotional day for everyone who was tragically impacted by today, said the Commissioner. I've already seen pictures of police officers quite upset, as you would expect. Any emergency services and teachers, everyone is affected in some way. A schoolboy who watched the horrific scene unfold revealed he was almost involved in the tragedy. Here's a quote from that schoolboy. "It was our turn next. Grade 5 and 6 went first." Bob Smith, who lives near the school, said he saw kids on the ground. Here's a quote from Bob Smith, a local neighbour. There was one really strong gust of wind on what was a beautiful, calm day. At first, we thought it might be an emergency services training exercise. Then the reality of what was happening kicked in. Prime Minister Scott Morrison, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, described the accident as unthinkably heartbreaking. Young children on a fun day out together with their families, and it turns to such horrific events, to such horrific tragedy. At this time of year, it just breaks your heart. 2 rescue helicopters and multiple ambulances were sent to the scene. The inflatable castle was part of a celebration to mark the last day of school. Okay. The article goes on to tell us that several children fell from a height of about 10 meters, about 10 a.m. Residents have been told to avoid the area. Images at the scene showed a wall of tarpaulin sheets set up as paramedics worked desperately to save those who had been injured. Okay, I'm going to wrap things up there. There is a little bit more information, but we've gone through the key aspects. I will mention that there is a GoFundMe. GoFundMe was launched shortly after news of the tragedy broke, raising 24,000 Australian dollars in just 3 hours. And according to this quotation here, in regards to the GoFundMe, all funds will go to the families of the children who were tragically killed and injured, to not only support them, but to provide them with much needed gifts in this time of sadness. Any donation is much appreciated. So I'm not in any position to verify this GoFundMe. That does not fall on my shoulders, but they've already raised a huge amount of money, 119,000 already, just in a few short hours. So I won't what won't I do? I won't post the link, but if you do a search on GoFundMe, because I won't post the link to the GoFundMe because I'm not sure of YouTube's rules in that regards, but I presume if you go to GoFundMe and search for support for families Hillcrest Primary School, hopefully you'll see that, and it's currently at 119,000. So you are able to donate there should you wish. So I'm going to thank you for listening to the video. It's obviously extremely tragic. Obviously, condolences go to the families, and as the article mentioned, that the teachers, the friends concerned, everyone in the local community, this is going to be devastating. This is where it occurred, in Tasmania. So northern Tasmania in Devonport. Okay, so condolences to all concerned.